Merci. Bonjour et bienvenue à tous à l'École des entrepreneurs pour le lancement de cette deuxième édition des Rendez-vous Succès-Numérique. Je voudrais souhaiter la bienvenue aux gens qui nous regardent en web diffusion. Ce seront 5 jours, entre autres, de conférences, d'ateliers pratiques et de speed coaching, mais également, je le souhaite, de témoignages et d'échanges constructifs. Nous avons réuni pour cette année plus de 40 invités, des entrepreneurs de marque qui ont les pieds bien ancrés dans l'ère numérique, dont M. Dasilva, PDG et fondateur de l'entreprise Lightspeed, des experts et entreprises qui offrent des solutions numériques au service des petites entreprises et finalement des acteurs du milieu de soutien aux entrepreneurs. Ce rassemblement fait partie de l'initiative Succès-Numérique qui a fait ses débuts en 2015. Succès-Numérique, qui est soutenu par le ministère de l'Économie, des Sciences et de l'Innovation, est né du besoin de renforcer la culture et l'agilité numérique au sein des petites entreprises des secteurs non traditionnels ou non technologiques. Notre objectif, sensibiliser, former et accompagner les entrepreneurs dans l'intégration des solutions d'affaires numériques. Quelques chiffres, au cours des 6 derniers mois, nous avons sensibilisé 2400 entrepreneurs sur des thématiques numériques et avons formé plus de 880 entrepreneurs par des ateliers spécialisés. Les besoins, l'intérêt et la volonté des entrepreneurs à s'appuyer sur le numérique est là, on le sent, on le voit. C'est d'ailleurs avec l'objectif de répondre à ce besoin que l'École rend disponible, via les médias sociaux, de plus en plus de contenu. Je vous rappelle d'ailleurs que la plupart des conférences Rendez-vous du succès numérique sont disponibles en web diffusion. Encore une fois, toutes ces activités ne pourraient avoir lieu sans notre principal bailleur de fonds, le MESI, que nous remercions pour la confiance accordée. Je tiens également à remercier la Ville de Montréal pour son soutien envers l'École. Finalement, l'École peut compter sur un grand partenaire de choix, la Banque nationale du Canada. Merci pour votre support. Avant d'avoir, nous aurons aujourd'hui l'occasion d'entendre 2 conférenciers. Je laisse la parole à M. Stéphane Bousquet, directeur principal Solutions numériques, entreprises et marché financier de la Banque nationale, pour vous adresser quelques mots. Je vous souhaite une excellente semaine parmi nous. Merci.
Merci, M. Fortin. Oui, merci, M. Fortin. Bonjour, bienvenue, chers entrepreneurs, chers dirigeants. J'aimerais commencer par remercier M. Fortin, l'École des entrepreneurs, pour leur invitation, leur accueil. La Banque nationale est fière de s'associer au rendez-vous Succès-Numérique 2018. Et c'est un honneur pour moi de prononcer quelques mots pour donner le coup d'envoi à cet événement dédié au numérique en tant qu'accélérateur de croissance en affaires. À ce sujet, je trouve notre rencontre très à propos, puisqu'au cours des dernières années, la Banque nationale se dédie à une transformation numérique sans précédent qu'elle a placée au cœur de ses priorités. Pour preuve, rien qu'au cours des derniers mois, on a déployé un nouveau parc de guichets automatiques, un nouveau site web informationnel, bnc.ca, des services de paiement mobile via Android Pay et Apple Pay, et un tout nouveau site transactionnel pour particuliers qui est actuellement en cours de déploiement et qui sera accessible sous peu à l'ensemble de notre clientèle. Spécifiquement, pour notre clientèle entreprise, nous avons lancé une application mobile permettant notamment à nos clients d'effectuer des virements Interac en temps réel à leurs fournisseurs et de déposer des chèques à partir de leur appareil intelligent, peu importe où ils se trouvent. Et aussi, nous sommes en train d'amorcer la transformation complète de nos solutions numériques destinées aux entreprises dans l'objectif ultime de devenir la banque numéro 1 des entreprises au Québec. Rien de moins. Je vous invite donc à garder l'œil ouvert au cours des 18 prochains mois. On n'a pas fini de vous surprendre. Il faut aussi savoir que notre ambition va bien au-delà de la livraison de solutions bancaires numériques aux entreprises. En fait, nous considérons les entrepreneurs tels que vous comme étant des partenaires potentiels. Pourquoi? Parce que vous avez le pouvoir de nous aider à concrétiser plus rapidement notre transformation numérique. Et en retour, les entreprises qui collaborent avec nous ont accès à nos experts qui parlent le même langage que les entrepreneurs. Nos partenaires bénéficient de notre réseau de contacts dans le domaine ainsi que de notre laboratoire d'innovation. À date, nos expériences sont plus que concluantes et la rétroaction de nos partenaires est positive. Il s'agit d'une collaboration viable et profitable pour tous. Nous avons un exemple concret d'une fintech avec laquelle nous avons réussi à déployer une nouvelle solution à nos clients en moins d'1 an. Le produit s'appelle Paiement facile Banque nationale. C'est un produit innovateur qui transforme un téléphone intelligent en terminal de paiement pour commerçants. C'est une première dans le marché dont le grand dévoilement se fera au cours des prochaines semaines. Vous comprenez maintenant pourquoi je trouve notre rencontre aujourd'hui si à propos. Alors sur ce, il ne me reste plus qu'à vous souhaiter une excellente conférence. Je vous souhaite de faire des apprentissages en grand nombre, de faire plein de découvertes inspirantes et de rencontres fructueuses. J'aimerais terminer en vous rappelant à quel point votre contribution est importante et rafraîchissante pour le Québec. Merci.
Merci, M. Bousquet. Sans plus tarder, allons dans le vif du sujet. Comme premier conférencier de cette deuxième édition des Rendez-vous Succès-Numérique, j'ai un grand honneur de vous présenter M. Dasilva, PDG et fondateur de l'entreprise Lightspeed. Pour une deuxième fois, nous recevons M. Dasilva à l'École des entrepreneurs. Nous en sommes très fiers. Il a toujours fait preuve de disponibilité pour s'adresser aux nouveaux entrepreneurs ici à l'École. Il a lui-même, il y a quelques années, disons, bénéficié des services du SAGE alors qu'il élaborait son plan d'affaires. Évidemment, l'entreprise a parcouru un chemin considérable depuis et je dirais une croissance fulgurante. Active dans plus de 100 pays, Lightspeed traite un volume annuel de transactions de plus de 20 milliards de dollars canadiens et compte près de 50 000 clients. Lightspeed a bâti son succès sur les opportunités numériques avec une vision d'avant-garde. L'entreprise contribue aussi au succès des entrepreneurs. Elle offre des logiciels de points de vente, de cybercommerce et de solutions intégrées accessibles aux détaillants québécois. Je laisse sans plus tarder la parole à Dax et le remercie encore une fois de sa générosité et de son engagement envers la communauté entrepreneuriale. Je vous invite à accueillir M. Dax Dasilva.
There's, I think, many advantages to building a tech company in Canada. Strength through diversity. And I think that Canada does that really well, and that really works for a modern company that's building their future around technology. I first started to code when I was 13. I thought it was magical. I kind of got a little obsessed and, started apprenticing at an Apple developer by age 13. So welcome to Lightspeed. This is a 117-year-old former luxury railway hotel. I'd like to take you on a tour. When you see Canadian companies doing acquisitions around the world and building the headquarters in Canadian cities, I think it's something you're going to see more of. There's really a whole other network of things you can tap into here. It's interesting to build software in this age where things are getting more complex and they have to be intuitive and they have to be visual. I wanted to build something that was versatile, that wasn't for a particular type of retailer, that small businesses could use, which is part of our mission to help cities thrive with independent business.
Really, Lightspeed, what we do at the core is we replace those old plastic, ugly terminals and cash registers that do very little, and then we run pretty much the store in the cloud. It helps them manage their inventory, it helps them manage their employees. Really, the application helps them understand how to run their business. The market is actually going through a revolution where everyone is going to go into the cloud. It's not will they, it's like when will they go. And now our challenge is really to be sure that we continue to be creative enough to be ahead of the game, which we are, and hopefully for the next 100 years we will be.
All of our favorite businesses, whether they're a retail or restaurant, we feel like we can give them a competitive edge and allow them to, help cities be really the colorful, textured places that we love. I think this is an awesome time to be a startup in Canada. It's a great cultural capital, and it's a very progressive, inclusive society, and it's got an amazing tech scene. At every stage, I think our tech companies are really impressing on the world stage. Previously, you had to go to Silicon Valley for investment. Now there's really, really great, knowledgeable, well-connected investors. You've got incubators, you've got networks of other people doing startups. I don't think there's anything that we need to be overly polite about, Canadian tech companies are seen by investors around the world as some of the most attractive, with the most rational cost bases, and really set up for success, as permanent fixtures on the tech landscape.
Okay, great. So it's a great pleasure to speak to all of you today. As it's been mentioned, I went to the SAGE entrepreneurs when I started Lightspeed in 2005. So it was a very, very helpful process for me. And I can attribute all of the early success to all of the business plans I put together, all of the thinking that the program made me do. So actually we're celebrating this year, this month, 13 years of Lightspeed, so we're becoming a young adult. It's our teenage years, and it's been a real ride. We're now, by the numbers, and I think some of them were mentioned, there's about 50,000 businesses using Lightspeed in 100 countries. We've had almost 300 million US in investments, so I can talk about that a little bit. From Silicon Valley originally, but the last 3 rounds have been mostly from Quebec, which has been great. So we've been able to really strengthen our position as a Canadian company that's going to remain a Canadian company. And 15 billion in USD, so about 20 billion in what's actually 17 now, in transactions that go through Lightspeed cloud-based point-of-sale systems. So that's what we do. Is we do, as you saw in the video, cloud-based point-of-sale systems, so iPad-based inventory and restaurant management systems in these 2 areas. And we really try to help the independent business owner, and we really, in 13 years, not strayed away from helping that same customer, and I'll talk about that more in a little bit. So about 600 people in across 8 or 9 different offices, and so there's a lot of diversity in the company, and I'll talk a little bit about how we bootstrapped without any outside funding for the first 7 years, and how that really allowed us to basically add other companies to the family through acquisitions, and still remain true to who we were, and be able to incorporate other cultures into our company culture. We don't do it all on our own. We've got partners that partner with Lightspeed and do installations and customizations and development around our platform around the world. 8 offices in Canada around the world. Actually, of our 600 people, about 200 are in Europe. So that's a really unique opportunity for Canadian companies and Quebec companies in particular. Since we're comfortable with languages and cultures, we work very well in the European market and the American market. We've seen our international expansion be something very natural, and enriches our experience of building the company. And our head office is here in Gare Viger. We moved a couple of times, but now I think we found our permanent home in the Gare Viger, which was empty for a long time, but we're part of the restoration of that amazing building. And you saw a little bit of it in the video. So who we are, so I told you already, we're a cloud-based point-of-sale and e-commerce platform. We were founded in 2005 in the Village. So I lived in an apartment, and I rented the apartment below it for Lightspeed, and I would just walk down the back staircase to go to work. And I was a programmer since I was 12. My dad brought home a computer. He was a graphic designer, so he used to bring home a Mac when I was like 8 or 9, and I was obsessed with the Mac. It was pretty new at the time, and I became an apprentice at an Apple developer by 13, and my dad gave me my own Mac at 12, and learned how to program. And I was in Vancouver. I'm from Vancouver originally, and learned how to program all through my teens and 20s for the local Apple dealerships before there were Apple stores, and for the forestry companies in BC. And so really got my footing building software, and that's but always kind of approached it from a design point of view, because that's what, my family's a lot of artists and creatives, and I was never really much of an engineer, but I loved programming. And so how the point of sale thing came about is I built software for many different retailers and Apple dealers along the way. But then when I was laid off by one of the stores that closed in 2004, I had all these requests from people that wanted me to build software for their store. And I said, well, no, I'm going to build one platform to be called Lightspeed, and we're going to have it be usable by many different customers. And so that was the birth of Lightspeed. And so I enrolled actually in this program, which helped me sort of build that original business plan and get things off the ground. And being kind of more of an art student than a finance student or an engineering student, I thought to myself, oh, this business plan is just an exercise I have to do in order to try to get a grant, and was very skeptical that it would actually help me. But it was interesting that by year 2, I actually hit the exact number in that business plan, and it helped us clarify. The early team, it helped us really clarify what we were going to do, what we weren't going to do, and we never really deviated from the focus that plan made us have. So it was hugely valuable. And after 3 years, then we took on a consultant from the BDC from years 4 to 7, and then we got our first investment from Excel of $30 million from the investors of Facebook in Silicon Valley that found us. So that early business plan, I always recommend to people that I mentor, because I do mentorship blocks every couple of weeks, to really focus on, there's a written part, which makes you organize your ideas, and then there's the 3-year projection, and that was really instrumental. And so one of the things that was really interesting about that plan was it really made us identify who is our customer and who is not our customer. And who is our customer 13 years later is exactly the same customer. It's still the independent retailer. Well, we're doing independent restaurateurs now as well. And independent retail now involves e-commerce. You can't do brick and mortar without doing e-commerce and having an omni-channel experience. So the scope has expanded, but working to build tools to unlock the potential of independent business people is the core mission of Lightspeed. And even though shopping and dining have changed radically over 13 years with, Amazon, with big box, with technology, with mobile phones, we've reinvented the company 5 times to keep up with the way that people, even find out where they're going to buy from, and where they're going to buy in store or online. Even though things have changed and retransformed, we've been able to change and reinvent the company to meet the needs of that same independent business person, but with new tools. So we had one stage where, the first stage, and I built the original software. They won't let me program anymore, but I built the original software, and that story was basically it was just trying to get something that an independent store owner could sit in front of and feel in control of their store. And so it looked a lot like iTunes. Now, this is back when iTunes was still a program that made any sense. Today it's a disaster, but back then in 2005, iTunes was a great way for you to understand your playlists and your music. And the original versions of Lightspeed let people look at their store like in playlists, like all of the different purchasing and all the different quotes that they made people and the different invoices. And so it was very understandable right away. And I literally, for 2 years while I was on the SAGE program, I was fueled by Tim Hortons Vanilla Française till 4 a.m. programming. And would climb down those stairs in the by noon, and worked on the business side of things during the day, with a small team. And that's basically how the first couple of years went. And since then, so that was like the first stage of the company. The next stage was we saw Apple opening, and I'd been a huge Apple fan. And I saw Apple almost die and then come back. Steve Jobs came back and resurrected the company. And now they were opening their own retail stores. And this was strange because Amazon was, Jeff Bezos was predicting the death of retail. And Apple started opening its own retail stores, and they were coming to the customer with mobile checkout. And so they totally flipped retail on its head, and we're a huge retail story. And they came to Lightspeed, and we were very small at the time, about 2009, so we must have been about 25, 30 people. We'd now moved out of Visitation Street into an office on St. Hubert, and we built Lightspeed Mobile. So this was the second phase of the company, was the mobile part. So we allowed the mobile checkout with the same hardware that Apple was using. The next big evolution, which was after we took our investment, was cloud. We realized that retail was going into the cloud, and that people were going to need to connect multiple systems, like loyalty systems, like e-commerce systems, like multiple stores. Multiple stores are going to need to connect over the cloud. So that was like another evolution. And then we went into omni-channel, which is connecting e-commerce and online. Then we went also into restaurant, because we want to help all of the businesses that were independent on the street. And today we're kind of at the analytics and AI part of the story of how that can help small business. So, still the same customer though. And that's, I think that's what's the great thing about defining what you're doing at the very start. That doesn't mean you won't pivot if it's not working. It doesn't mean that if you don't hit targets, you might not have to reevaluate what you're doing. But it means that if you write a great business plan and you write a great mission and a great vision for yourself, you may find that you might evolve your business and it may be interpreted differently, but you probably will stay on the original core spirit of the idea. So, like I said, we democratize technology that was previously, only available to people with large budgets. So, I like to think of our omni-channel solution as, it's software that, like the software that Frank and Oak uses to do their online and in-store, but without raising $20, $30 million of venture capital, any independent store can have the same kind of experience for $100 a month. Although I love Frank and Oak, they're some of my best friends. So. So that's kind of that's what drives us, and that's what drives the employees, is making this technology available to everybody. And we also like to say that Lightspeed's like a company that's infused with culture just as much as code. And what does that mean? I mean, strong company culture is a huge part of why we've been able to do this expansion around the world. Because we didn't take outside money for the first 7 years, and you might ask me, why didn't we take money for the first 7 years? Well, we built the company on its own sales, and we built the company by building out this partner network, and we were a profitable business, and I would never trade either, and I actually don't know that much about finance, I know more now, but we didn't pursue investment. We built the business the old-fashioned way, and it gave us a lot of a very strong identity and a very strong DNA, so that later, when we did have investment, and we started buying companies to bring some of the cloud technology into our company, and some people with other experiences, we were able to really make that a part of our culture, even though there was very different cultures in Amsterdam, very different cultures in New York, very different cultures in London, very different cultures on West Coast USA, and we were able to be a part of a bigger family, and maintain all of these different cultures, but have them be a part of one set of company values and company culture. Omnichannel I spoke about, so this is very transformative. What we've seen in our market is that people aren't walking down the street anymore and walking into a retail store. It happens, but more often, or a restaurant either. It more happens often that people are searching on their phones and plan something out and before they go into a store or make a destination of a store or restaurant. And so we've been able to rebuild the business based on changing trends. And that's kind of something that what you have to do as a company is really listen to customers, be in the trenches with customers, observe how customers are adapting, how our stores are adapting has taught us what we have to build for them at each stage, and how we've been able to stay 2 years ahead of the market is by being really in the trenches with these customers, supporting them day in and day out, and hearing kind of their needs. This is a roundtable. We did roundtables. We do them all the time. This was in Toronto. We've done them here. We've done them in London, Amsterdam. So we get all this feedback from all these independent retailers, restaurateurs. And what's amazing about the roundtables and why you should get in front of your customers. When I was programming originally, I would get in front of my customers all the time. And then you take that information back and you are able to program or adapt from what you're hearing. What's amazing about that feedback loop is, well, first of all, it's really gratifying, and when you can get a group of customers together, it's gratifying because you can build something, give it to somebody, and they can. That's extremely satisfying to be able to fulfill somebody's wish and make them that much more productive, save them time, and make them hopefully love the software and talk about it. And make your product viral in a neighborhood or with a certain community. And what actually I found really valuable about the roundtables is not really our involvement, but when retailers were talking to each other, or restaurateurs, when our customers were talking to each other and talking about how they were expanding, what their challenges were, we learned so much about what we needed to build for them. And even if they were in very, very different businesses, one person might have been selling skincare products, another person may be selling fashion, maybe one was doing more online, one was doing more in store. It was amazing to hear small businesses talk to one another, and that's a great lesson for how to build better products, is find ways to listen to your customers. Etiquette, great store that's using omni-channel in Westmount. Another store that you might know, another brand is Ricardo. Ricardo uses all three of our platforms, Espace Ricardo. They use our retail platform, they use our e-commerce platform, and our restaurant platform. And we're trying to bring together all the data from all of those different sources so that we can give them a combined view, not just on the retail side or the restaurant side or the e-com side, to give them a combined view of all the analytics for all the different elements, even though they are different parts of their business. And I think that one of the big things is, since we are our average customer, it's very different than, let's say, a Square or a Shopify customer in that they have this physical locations and they're doing about $500,000 in sales per year. Some of the other solutions are doing a much more micro merchants, and so we're really implicated in helping and supporting these customers with all of their challenges. We do the more complex inventory, we do the more complex nightclubs, bars, restaurants with table service, and so with that complexity means we need to help more, and so we need to we have to actually be their IT team in a way, and so that building that partner network, I think, has been really core to how we've been able to grow, and then building great support people that have a lot of empathy in our company, and that can support people in multiple languages and around the clock, has been hugely important. Yeah. So that's a little bit about Lightspeed. Does anybody have any questions at this point? I can tell you a little bit more about any stage of the company that you're interested. Yes.
In terms of your branding, changing it, because I think you had a first name. How did you? I'm curious, as being in Quebec and having this Anglophone sounding name, how did you get that accepted?
So the company was originally called Dasilva Systems. So it was basically my name, Dax Dasilva, with some letters taken out. And we were able to, but the product was always called Lightspeed from the beginning, and that comes from Star Wars. And when we took the investment from California, it was very on vogue to have the product and the company be the same thing. Like Facebook was Facebook, Twitter was Twitter, like Dropbox was Dropbox. So we were able to get, at that point, 7 years in, enough of a trademark around using Lightspeed for point of sale that we're able to kind of use that as a proper trademark. And when doing I think in Quebec, when doing a proper name, you can do you can do a trademarked name. Now I know from my cultural center, Never Apart, we have a couple versions of it, so it's Centre Never Apart. Yeah. Hopefully that answers the question. Yeah. Any other questions? Yes.
What's your process with all your partners? You said you have 600 partners.
Yeah, so there's 600 employees. There's about 250 partners. We used to have about 400 partners. During the beginning of the company, we actually, this is a big part of the story. At the beginning of the company, we had a small team, and we had sold a lot into the Apple dealer ecosystem. So before there was Apple stores, there was Apple dealers. So they were a lot of our original customers. But after a couple of years of using the software, they all were very eager to start selling it in their neighborhoods to other retailers, because they understood the software, they understood Macs, they understood networking, they could create a solution around Lightspeed. And so we used to have, I think what two things really changed the company's trajectory. One was we started doing training camps for the resellers. And I was like, nobody's going to come to this training camp. But then the first training camp we did, We had 45 people come from as far as Australia, Saudi Arabia, Ireland. It was, to what is today Hotel 10. I think it was called, I can't remember what it was called at the time. We had people come from all over, and we did them twice a year, once in Montreal and once in a US city. So we would gather all of these partners in these places, and we teach them the software, how to sell it, how it worked, what the new features were, and we actually built an extended family of people that we paid 25% of the cost of the software they kept, but then they were also able to sell. They would sell a $5,000 Lightspeed, but then they'd sell $25,000 worth of services and hardware and all this other stuff around it. So that's why they were incentivized to come to our camps, and we'd give them certification levels, and we really, really grew this. Now things changed a little bit when we went into the cloud, because when we went into the cloud, there wasn't as many servers to install, because it used to be that you'd have a Lightspeed server in every store. So what a partner became for us changed. It was more today, it's more people that add value by adding a software add-on. Although in restaurant, you still need a partner to go in because there's many more pieces of hardware. But yeah, it's a great way to grow your company, which is through distribution or through having a partner network. And that was a part of our original business plan, was to have this reseller network. But it didn't predict how big or how we would recruit them through trade shows, which is the other big thing that was a big part of our growth. The CERT camps weren't in the original plan, but it was an outflow of that original strategy of doing resellers as our sales distribution channel. Trade shows was another really big one. We did at first the Macworld trade show, which really helped us every year kind of, ship a product that would, psych out our competitors. We did really big booths. Then we switched to NRF, which was the retail trade show in New York, and that's where we found our first investors. So trade shows are also a great way to present the company.
On aurait peut-être le temps pour une dernière question.
If you had to start it all over again, one thing you would do differently?
If I had to start it all over again. It's a good question. I think if I was starting again today, maybe I would take the investment earlier. But I wouldn't change Lightspeed's story, because I think it was the right set of choices at the right time. But I do think it's a good practice and a good idea to bootstrap a company as long as you can. Do you have to do it for 7 years? No, maybe you could probably bootstrap for 3 or 4 and still have a solid identity and a solid DNA to build out a great company that can expand internationally and still keep its culture. Yeah. Well, thank you, everybody. It was great chatting with you.
Thank you very much, Jackson. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Donc, merci les gens pour avoir accueilli M. Dasilva. Donc, je pense une entreprise montréalaise, mais avant tout une entreprise québécoise et mondiale dont on peut être fier.